right, hello parents, and welcome back to our famous Get Right with Miss Wright. We have our talk show here, and these are parent education talk shows to help you grow your family, answer those burning questions that sometimes we feel so uncomfortable to ask. And then sometimes we just feel like, hey, I don't even know who to go to. And so, one of the things that I love about our talk show is that it all has to do with lots of resources and lots of ideas right here at Bradley Elementary as well as in Montgomery County, which is our local community. So today is all about COVID, right? We have just been exhausted, we have been tired, we have been stressed, we have been frustrated. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And so we see so many things on the news, but sometimes we feel like all have like different situations that affect us different within our immediate families. And then when you think about our district, when you think about our local community, and especially here at Bradley, we just have so many questions that go unanswered. And I know that y'all are striving and wanting some more support. So I am so proud to present to you our co-host, all of them. We have Miss Lauren Brasher and Sherry Dunn. They are from Tri-County, so I'll allow them to speak a little bit about themselves and their achievements and everything. Go ahead.
All right. Hi, everybody. Like Ashley said, my name is Lauren Brasher, and I'm an LPC associate, which means I'm working towards becoming a fully licensed professional counselor. And I've worked with a bunch of different people. I've worked with kids. I've worked with adults. I've worked with teens, and all different kinds of issues. And so now I'm currently working with the program that we're going to talk about a little bit more later in the show, doing some crisis counseling and phone counseling during this crazy time. Sherry?
I'm Sherry Dunn. Right now I'm going to school for my master's degree in counseling. I'm currently doing online classes at Lamar, so I get the online school side completely with you guys. But that's it, yeah. And I work in the same program as Lauren.
All right, and then we have our lovely parent, Miss Malika Bruno, which I am so proud. She has been with us since day one here at Opening with Bradley. So I am so happy that she joined. And parents, I'm going to have more talk shows throughout the year. So if you are wanting to be one of our parent guests, we want you. Part of being on the talk show is to actually have a parent so you can have somebody from your perspective that has children that is going through the same situation as you. So without further ado, we'll give it to Miss Malika Bruno to talk about
Hi, how's everyone? Well, I'm hoping that we're all doing well in these uncertain times, of course. My name's Malika Bruno. I am your parent co-host. I am in grad school, of course, for child and adolescent psychology. My husband and I are self-employed. I've had at least 3 children, one of them out of Bradley already. My youngest daughter, she's supposed to be still at Bradley, but we decided to homeschool at this time, because of everything that was going on, just keeping the consistency. Since we decided to remove her early on when everything started. I still have a Bradley bear who's in the 4th grade, and I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you. So without further ado, we will get right into it, right? Because I know we are just dying for some information. So even though we've watched the news, even though we've heard it 1,000 times, Sherry and Lauren, if you could just tell us, like, what is like COVID? Like, how do you get it? What are some symptoms to look for? What are some common myths or misconceptions that you and your team, your site has talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll preface this with saying we're not medical professionals. So the information we're giving you is what we've learned, through trusted sources like the CDC website. So I'll just kind of give you guys a quick little overview. Like Ashley said, we've heard it all before, but just to kind of, solidify it in our minds. So COVID is an acute respiratory illness, right? It attacks our lungs, our respiratory functioning caused by the coronavirus, which obviously is a highly, highly contagious virus. And it is definitely people who are older and who already have either immunocompromised, which just means they maybe have some other like illness, right? So it's a lot easier for those folks to get it. but anybody can get it. That's kind of the scary part. And so the way that we get it is through the virus is spread through little droplets, right, that come out like when you talk, right? It comes out. You don't always realize I'm spitting, but we usually are when we talk, when we cough, when we speak, when we sing. And usually it's caught, like I said, when it's kind of in the air. Those little tiny, tiny, minuscule little droplets get spread through the air. That's why we wear masks, right? Because we're trying to limit those droplets from coming out. So that's usually how it's transmitted between person to person. That's why we've got to keep our distance, the whole social distancing. That's why we have to do that. Because the more distance we have from people, the less likely we are to come in contact with those tiny little droplets that may contain the virus. Now, there is some research also that says, if some of those tiny droplets get stuck on, say, your desk or some other hard surface, that you can catch it from that. It's less likely, or it doesn't happen as often, but it does happen.
And so that's why we do the cleaning. Yeah, that's why we
exactly. That's why we're cleaning everything. Yeah. We're wiping everything down. So that's how you get it. Now, some of the symptoms to look for, it can be a little bit tricky because A, you can have it and be asymptomatic, right? I mean, no symptoms at all. Or you can get it and it looks like the flu, right? Like that's the thing that everybody's saying. It's like, oh, it's just the flu, but it's really more intense than the flu. We'll just put it that way. So things like if you have fever, chills, cough, shortness of breath, obviously it's because remember it's respiratory infection, fatigue, muscle, body aches, headache. The strange one that a lot of people are starting to find is loss of taste and smell, which is just bizarre. Sore throat, congestion, runny nose, nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea, right? Which all of those things could be like a ton of different things. But that's why it's important to really listen to your body when maybe I'm not feeling good. Could be coronavirus, could just be a stomach virus, but you don't know until you get tested. Some really like kind of major symptoms to look for is, and when it's, can be an emergency, trouble breathing. Obviously, anytime you can't breathe, you want to go seek medical attention immediately. Persistent pain or pressure in your chest. If you suddenly kind of become confused and you didn't have an issue like that before, you don't know what's going on, your mental capacity can be kind of overtaken. Inability to stay awake. If you get bluish lips or face, again, you're losing oxygen, right? Because you're not getting enough oxygen in your body. If those happen, that's a time to go to the ER, call your medical provider immediately because something's really wrong. Those other things I mentioned before, those are things to start looking into, like maybe I need to get tested, maybe I need to seek a medical professional, but maybe not right this second. Maybe it's not imminent right this moment, but I need to plan to do that. What else we got? Oh, that's a few myths. There's a ton of myths about coronavirus. So I just kind of picked out a few, a lot of ones that I see a lot when we talk to our clients and just kind of out and about in the community. So the first one is that only old people get COVID.
Yeah,
right.
I heard that one.
I think that's something that, especially when it first started, it's like, oh, we ain't got to worry about the kids, right? Like they're fine. Only old people are getting it. And for the most part, like I said before, they're the more vulnerable population.
Yes.
But anybody, it don't matter. It don't matter how old you are, your sex, race, anything. Like if you're around somebody who has it and is transmitting it, you are capable of getting it.
I think that's what's the most important too. I agree with you, Lauren, is that has been a misconception. Like only, our seniors are getting it, or it's only in this state. I think it's just more knowledgeable as we see, and as some of you parents are, getting these emails from different schools, like kids can get it, as well. And so every day, Lauren, I personally feel like we're just learning and becoming more knowledgeable about the disease itself. So it's more so just being aware and staying in the loop so that way we'll know how to attack it. So, going back to the things that you said before, keeping your surfaces clean, because it's so easy to, let's just be real, like get lazy. Maybe sometimes we just don't always clean the kitchen counter. It may just be one of those nights, right? And we're just, just like, but we have to be mindful, especially when we're going to the store and then we come into the house and we're touching stuff, right? And we've already touched, from the shopping cart, and I know that they sanitize, but it's just the little things that we've never had to pay attention to, and I feel like 2020 is all about just being aware of now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with that said, I wanted to add that there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of where children stand. Like, how young is too young to wear a mask? What are some of the rules that we should incorporate within the community? Because children want to go outside and play with other children. Should they still be wearing those masks when they go outside and ride their bikes or play with other kids?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, again, the information we're getting every day is changing, right? So it's
right,
like,
it is.
Because you remember at the beginning it was like, oh, don't wear a mask. Those, they're not helpful.
That's
but then
right.
Like, everyone wear a mask. It's very important. So I'll say what we know is the safest way to keep yourself and your kiddo safe is to isolate.
Yes.
So let's be real. That's just, it's not possible for everyone to do that. Some people have been able to do that, and great for them, but like in the real world, it's not realistic, right? So I will say, like, again, when your kiddos, I think, now I don't have this information offhand, so don't quote me, but when you go into the stores and things, it's like, toddlers and under don't have to wear a mask, but if they're like, school age, then, they have to wear a mask. I think that's something to kind of a good guideline, because again, anybody can catch it. Kids can catch it,
Right.
But the likelihood of them getting deathly ill or severely ill is, again, significantly less than people who are higher risk. Right. But again, it's always the risk we don't know. That's what makes this thing so scary, right? Is we don't know.
So then I would say, then would you, like, I think it would be more empowered, because I know some parents are watching this and saying, like, okay, so since we don't know, and it sounds like, the likelihood is less, we're not saying don't do anything at all. And I think that that's what ends up happening, is that, well, the likelihood is low. So, it's okay. And we start to be really flexible. I love what you said. And, the safest thing is isolation. Unfortunately, we cannot, like, living in the world and the society that we live in, it's really hard to do that. So the best next thing would be just to wear a mask, and make sure you're protected. Make sure that, okay, if you're not going to wear, a mask, or you don't feel comfortable, that you're maybe not just around a lot of people, or should I say, Ms. Wright, be around a lot of different people that you're not normally, around every single day.
Right, absolutely. And another thing people were talking about too at the beginning of the pandemic was like having your own little bubble, right? Having your like, 3 or 4 families that that they're safe when they go out,
right?
And you feel comfortable with your kids playing with their kids, that type of thing. That's an option for some people. As far as like playing outside, like I will say, like I have a 12-year-old. He wants to go play with the neighborhood kids, and for me too, it's like this, like, ooh, is that okay? I don't want to limit him and say, no, you can't hang out with them. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want you to be safe,
Yes.
So we have him wear a mask when he goes and plays with his friends down the street.
But I love how
Huh?
I love how you said that, and I would, want, of course, like, you, Malika, and Sherry to chime in on that, because I get a lot of phone calls from parents, just like their kids, feeling, which we're going to get into the next thing I want to talk about, the effects of COVID, just everything that's going on mental health and signs to look for. I feel like a lot of our kids are like really depressed and really frustrated because
Mm-hmm.
they're lacking those social experiences.
Mhm.
And so I like how that you put into perspective, like, my son wants to play with the neighborhood kids. However, since I'm on the borderline, it's just like, what can I do instead of just completely isolating him altogether? Well, if you're going to play, if you're going to go out there, you have to wear your mask. And so that's where I say that you kind of, it's just like kind of that leeway, like in that middle, you find a happy medium, instead of saying no. And parents, by all means, you can say no. But if you're just still kind of like, well, I do want them to socialize a little bit, I am familiar with that particular household and friends, let's just do it in a safe way. Can everybody wear a mask, or you're going to wear a mask to
Yeah,
help?
and I think along with that, we don't have high risk people in our families either. So we're able to take those initial risks,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
What are your thoughts? Like, I know you have all of your lives. Like, how do you handle that with other people? Like, what's your preference?
Oh, well, glad you asked. And that was my question as well, because I want to make sure that I'm doing the right things. Because their only social activity right now is those few families within the community. So, we're not seeing any of our family. Most of our family are out of state. And I do have those periods where I see that my girls are getting, not depressed per se, but they're feeling a little isolated and lonely, or just the boredom altogether. So we have a
Mm-hmm.
couple of families within the community, and we allow our children to play together in a safe manner, of course. But that's the only thing that we can do for socialization and activity right now. And it seems to be working out just fine, but we want to make sure that we're taking those precautions that we need to take, wearing a mask, keeping them distance, maybe
Yeah.
play jump rope, hula hoop, different things.
Oh, that's good.
Running around, is perfectly safe. Not really sitting there all, close together, and just, doing little things that the little girls may want to do and play with those small toys and different things, but having them to just have some real activity
Mm-hmm.
and just engaging them in that way.
That's awesome. Which gets me into my next thing. So let's go ahead and talk about, like, we know the symptoms, we know how we can get it, we know, everything that we need to do. So now we're still experiencing, Lauren and Sherry, the whole effects of COVID on mental health, which is, you know, a lot in y'all's area. Like, tell us, effects of it and ways to, cope with it if a family member has it, or what are your suggestions? What do you see as far as like clients coming in? Um, what's happening?
Okay. So the big thing that we're seeing is kind of first just like anxiety in general, right? Because you think the world's one way, right? And then you wake up one day last March
Right.
and the world is different than what you thought. And things are changing by day. Things are, your expectations are changing. Maybe your life situation, your financial situation, you kids had to go out of school. All these things are changing that were like a very set, like, this is what I do, right? So when you have the rug pulled out from
Mm-hmm.
under you like that, anxiety are going to go way up, right? Because that's all anxiety is just like uncertainty about the future, like what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen. And when we don't have the answer, our brains are not very happy because our brains like to know what's going to happen so that we can protect ourselves from potential danger. And
Mm-hmm.
so when what we're seeing all the time, because we talk to folks all day long, and this is what is coming up a lot is really anxiety about the future, fears about the future. Am I going to be okay? Are my kids going to be okay? Um, am I going to have a job? Am I going to lose my job? Yeah, am I going to lose my housing, food? Like, going from, living in one world where you have all the answers to where I have all these questions now. So that affects people's anxiety. So anxiety symptoms, again, are just those worry thoughts, but it's also physical, right? Like your heart rate goes up. Maybe you have a hard time sleeping. Maybe you experience panic attacks, even kiddos. I'm sure y'all probably seen some anxiety symptoms from the kids at school as well. Sometimes looks different from adults. Sometimes you'll see anger as part of anxiety because I don't know what to do with this. I'm so frustrated, right? But I'm scared too. And it's all kind of like mushed up together. A lot of anxiety. And then we're seeing a lot of increased depression symptoms too. Because just like we were talking about, one of the really unfortunate repercussions of the pandemic is having to isolate, right? Having to pull away from other people. And we're social creatures, right? People thrive by being together, supporting each other, interacting with each other. We need that. And so when we have to pull away from that, it makes it really hard for our kiddos, but also for us parents too, right? I can't connect with people the way I used to. So I'm seeing a lot of depression with that, especially it kind of goes hand in hand with that anxiety of I don't know what's going to happen and I feel bad right now.
I like how you normalize that though, because I sometimes feel like when we are, talking about anxiety and we're talking about depression before COVID, we were attaching that to individuals that are, just had consistent hardships or challenges. But what's happening is that I want to say all of us have experienced a piece of it though, since March, we thought that this thing would just kind of maybe mellow and go over, but it hasn't. So even if our finances, and I want to hear from Lika, even if our finances are together, we're still working. I'll be transparent with you guys. I'm a school counselor, but I still have experienced a little bit of depression at times, just because I'm like, God, this is hard. This is hard, and it's very sad. And when I'm looking at my family, it's like it has, created my sadness, and then also my anxiety. I'm just listening to you, and I'm not a person that is just regularly depressed, but I love how you have normalized it, and I think that our parents would, just appreciate, if you are feeling depressed and you are feeling anxious, it's okay. That is normal to feel in this traumatic situation. Malika, you want to chime in? Have any of y'all?
That outdoor activity, like I was saying, that outdoor activity, sometimes it's a lifesaver because when you see the children kind of moping around the house, just go for a walk.
Yeah.
A long walk. And, pull out those skateboards and all of those different things that the kids weren't using once upon a time. Draw on the sidewalk using chalk. I mean, anything. And jump rope. Anything outdoors is a privilege at this point because we don't know if, we get into a situation where people need to stay indoors more depending on what happens with the numbers. And I think that increases the anxiety, thinking that, what if things get worse? So I say take advantage of some of the advantages that we still have and do as many things outdoors as we can safely, within the community. And you don't have to go to other people's homes in order to go outside and do something safe. I mean, it's better to go out for a walk and ride a bike and do different things like that than it is to rely on having to get together with other people.
Right.
Absolutely. Sherry, what would you say, just moving into, and Lauren, you can chime in back on some more of the effects, but how do you cope with COVID, or a family member that has COVID, or a friend that has COVID? Because a lot of little situations that have been happening even here on campus is that, when your friend or someone has had it in the classroom or a family member, and now you have to quarantine, and the mental effects and health impact that it has had on our kids. Like, what would you say, like, what would be some ways to, like, cope with that on that mental health level?
So while they're in quarantine,
Mhm.
I would almost say the same things we've been talking about. You got to try and find something to keep your mind active. So, and I know not everybody reads. I'm a reader. I love to read, but even music, the music in
Yes.
itself can be therapy.
Yes.
And I know it's hard to breathe whenever you have COVID, if that's what you have, or if you're just in quarantine because you're around someone. But just listening to it, the words themselves are therapeutic a lot of times.
Yeah.
Um,
Uplifting ones, not depression.
Yes.
Depressing ones. I was like, parents will be
Right,
like,
right,
I'm
right.
gonna listen to this sad song. Like, I'm stuck in this situation.
Yeah.
Make sure you have some sunshine music. Okay.
And
Go
I
ahead,
would
Lauren.
say too, like with kids, especially like having a project, having a goal
Yes.
that you
Yes.
have, because that's the thing is like what we're tapping into is with coronavirus, we don't have any control over that stuff. We
Right.
didn't ask for this. Right? Like we don't have control over what's gonna happen. So when y'all are in a spot of like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna do, have a project with the kids. Because then that's something that's in your control, right? We don't have control over all this stuff, but maybe we can work on like a puzzle together. Maybe we can write a story together. Maybe we can choose a show that we want to binge watch together, if that's your jam. Um, having a project with the kids gets them focused on something to be excited about and gets you focused on something to be excited about and being like, okay, the world outside is crazy right now, but we can focus on this for right now. We can do this project. We can do this fun thing. We can play a game together. Um, I feel like that's something that's good to have again to focus on the positive, focus on what you can do versus what you can't do.
I like that because, parents, our kids are always looking at us and how we, refuel ourselves and how we behave and how, we respond to situations. So I like what you said. And, if your child is being, quarantined because of a situation that was out of their control, because I love what we have to come to that realization. COVID
Mm-hmm.
is out of our control. And even if
Right.
the person got it, we don't know, like, if that person intentionally, was around someone else that had it. It could have been just in the store at the wrong time in the wrong place. And that's
Right.
what's so frustrating about
Mm-hmm.
this disease. And so the only thing that we can close in is really look at those opportunities where, like, okay, this is just what it is. And what I'm hearing from Lauren and Sherry is like, I'm just going to, focus on what I can. So let me spend a little bit more family time. Let me focus on something positive. Like, let's watch a movie. And I know some of you may be out there like, oh, Miss Wright, that just sounds, so redundant. I'm over Netflix. I mean, we all over
Yeah.
Netflix. Like, I'm over Disney. We're all over Disney, right? We just keep watching. That's why they keep Mandalorian just came back on, and everybody was like, "Yay!" Because we're so
Yeah.
tired of technology. But let's go back to what Miss Bruno just said. Go take a walk. That fresh air, seeing
Yes.
greenery and inhaling. That is so important. And I know it's
Yeah.
cold. I don't know. Make some hot cocoa. Put some in a little cup, and
Yeah.
Hmm.
Make it fun.
yes, take a walk. So with that being said, I know those are the effects. So now, let's move in before we, close. Tell us about Tri County Outreach Program. Like, what is Tri County? What type of resources do y'all provide? Because I know my parents are like, okay, like, I know this stuff. I'm ready. You giving me some new ideas what to do, but I want to know, like, if I'm in this situation, what are some other supports that I can have?
For sure. Okay.
Can I ask for a
Yeah.
specific
Yeah.
resource that I'm pretty sure everyone wants to know?
Yeah.
So with the COVID testing, I know that some people feel like they can't afford it, are there free places to get COVID testing? I think that's very important to share with people where they can have a free test done. And then the other question would be the FDA approved testing versus not FDA approved. That's something that I recently heard and had no idea about. If you guys can share anything about that.
I was just gonna say we do have resources. I don't have it just off the top of my head, and I'm really sorry about that. But we do have resources as far as testing sites and free testing. But it's something that's ever changing.
Yeah, it comes like daily.
Right.
Yes.
Pretty quick. Yeah.
So what we can do is whatever information that we have, we can send on to you, Miss Wright.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So tell us, and that's where, like, I wanted to know more so, like, tell us about what is Tri-County. Because I know, like, when I say Tri-County, some people have had, like, ancient bad stigma, like Tri-County. And then some people are like, what is that? So, like, if you could just kind of break that down, what that is, tell us what you guys do, the resources that you all provide. So just like Ms. Bruno is saying, we'll get into, like, if y'all do provide testing sites, of course, the parents would have to call so that they can get whatever that they need from you guys. And it sounds like y'all are a little bit of just that extra hand of support to find out what you need. Look, Sherry's like, got it.
Yeah. I've heard some really crazy quotes for testing, like $200 to get tested, and I'm thinking, like, what if you can't afford that?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are testing sites available, but like I said, it changes pretty quickly. And I think that's part of the problem too right now is resources, and I'll get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But like availability of resources really fluctuates.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a day-to-day basis of like looking into what's out there, right? And so that's kind of what we do is we kind of search around and be like, okay, what's available? Okay. We send that out to our clients, for sure. So I'll tell you a little bit about Tri-County. So Tri-County Behavioral Health Care is a mental health service facility in our community that provides case management, med management, and counseling to people in the Tri-County area. So that includes Montgomery, Liberty, and Walker County. Our main headquarters is in Conroe, 233 Ed Holcomb. Sergeant Ed Holcomb. I was like, I need to remember that. And so we have programs to help folks with mental health concerns, mental health issues. We have an adult program, child and adolescent. We work with folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We have a substance abuse program, homeless. We do have folks who in the school. Well, we don't have them in every school, but we have a few sprinkled in the area. And we also have an acute crisis mental health facility for people experiencing a serious mental health crisis in the moment. So that's kind of Tri-County picture. What we do, so we work for a program called the COVID-19 Crisis Counseling Program. We are grant funded through FEMA. So basically it's a grant that's bestowed upon Tri-County. So we're like our own little program within Tri-County. We're special. So basically that just means that the government gives us money to be able to provide free, anonymous, short-term counseling to folks who need somebody to talk to. Like, that's really all that it is. Like, you don't have to have insurance. We literally just take your name and number. It's an anonymous program, so it's not like we're taking all your information and kind of putting you in a system. It's very laid back as far as that goes. And you don't have to meet any requirements. You literally just call our number and we'll set you up with a counselor.
That is amazing. Can I say that?
Huh?
That is amazing. I think
right?
parents need to know that. Like, that
so
is
the counseling, is that after hours as well?
Unfortunately, no. We're open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Normal business hours. Unfortunately,
do y'all do virtual?
We mostly do phone.
Phone. Okay,
So
that'll
yeah,
work.
it's mostly over the phone, but we do
That
have,
works.
yeah, we do have the capability to do video conferencing. We just haven't had a big like request for it.
Got it.
But if it's something that's like important, somebody like I need to see your face, we can do that.
That's awesome.
We also, if people want to come into our office, that is okay too. Now, you will be required to wear a mask, just like going anywhere. But if again, if somebody feels more comfortable, face to face, that's okay too. So like I said, we provide, it's up to 6 sessions of counseling. And so we talk about pretty much whatever it is that's going on with you. You don't have to have had COVID. You don't have to know anybody who had COVID. I think a lot of people think, oh, it's the COVID counseling, COVID crisis counseling. So they're like, oh, I don't have COVID, so I don't have to talk to you. Literally, because everybody's been affected.
Yes.
In one way or there's nobody who's been able to escape being affected by this. So anybody, and we can talk about what's going on for you, maybe coping skills, just like we were talking about, ways to deal with the feelings that you're having coming up right now, ways to deal with, again, your kids. How do I deal with this? Now we will counsel with kids as well. It's not just adults, but if we do get a referral for a kiddo, then we do have to get the parents to sign.
Yes,
that's the only paperwork, obviously, so that we can talk to a minor. But other than that, we talk about whatever's going on for you, whatever you want to work on. If you just need somebody to talk to, that's okay too.
What
And
about
we do individual?
yeah, go ahead.
We do individual counseling as well as family or even mom and children or even couples.
Oh, that's awesome. What
Say
about
that again. I didn't hear that.
We do individual counseling as well as family counseling or couple counseling.
Okay.
Whatever they're in need of.
Whatever you need.
Oh, that's
honestly.
awesome. Couple
wonderful.
counseling. That is
Yeah.
really awesome. What
And we
about
also,
go ahead. I know.
I was just going to say, we also provide resources. Like I was saying, we kind of search out resources in the
That's what I
community.
yes.
If people need financial resources, rental assistance,
Yes.
that kind of information. Now we don't have just a great hookup as far as like, oh yeah, we'll just sign you up. Like they have to kind of do the work of like making the calls, but we have like pamphlets and stuff to give to people, at least to give them a right, direction to go in.
And sometimes that's all. Sometimes I feel like that's all that they need. So that's what kind of sparked my attention about you guys as being the outreach program, because everyone has so much on their plate. So if I can have somebody kind of direct me to tell me who to call and what to do, especially because we have so many new families in Montgomery County, so many new families coming to Conroe ISD, and they're like, I don't know where everything is. You guys can be like, I know, here's who you need to call. And just to have that support, like you're already going to help to give the counseling, but to have somebody in their corner to be like, I have you, just calm down, like, let's strategize and figure out some other things. Okay. So, but before we close, if you could tell us like a couple of, and we only had about 3 questions, tell us about a couple of ways to just stay safe that y'all would recommend during Christmas, like even mentally just staying even sane during Christmas.
For sure. Again, kind of going back to that conversation of like, what do I do with my kids? Do I let them play with people? It's the same question we got to ask ourselves. Do I let myself play with people, right? Like, are we letting our people together for Christmas, for holidays, whatever may be coming up for you guys? Again, same thing applies. Like, the only way I know to keep myself and others safe is to isolate. But, like, that just ain't going to work for a lot of people over the holiday. I mean, again, we're social creatures. It's really hard. That's, I think, what's made it so hard for people is, like, to say, I can't be around the people I love. I can't, see my friends for the holidays. I can't see my family. So I think, honestly, it's going to be a case-by-case basis. Whatever you feel like is the best decision that you can make. Like you were saying earlier, the next best thing. Sometimes that means having holidays with masks on. That's going to be really uncomfortable for a lot of people. But if you feel strongly about it, you got to let the people know. And I think that's kind of the emotional part, is like making boundaries with folks.
And
Feel
that's
very
where the
strong.
stress comes in. I'm so glad that you, I mean,
know.
that's what it is, because we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So, like I know that, we're going over time. I said, but that's where the stress comes in. It's just that everybody is like on that whole different respect factor when it comes to the whole, mask or no mask, or do we see people, do we not see people, but we're family, but in all of these things. But I love how you said you have to do what's best for you, and then know and believe that this is the decision that you're making, and being content with it, and just being aware like of your mental health, and not you know continuing to recreate that anxiety, because I know a lot of parents right now, it is Christmas and they're very anxious, like, what are we doing, how are we doing it. I've heard from some other parents, like, for Christmas, this is just an idea of parents, if you just have to see your family and have them, like, do something outside, or have the mass, have everybody spread out all the dishes, and have that expectation when people come over, so that they are aware, like, we're still going to see each other, but this is just what we have to do to take some safety precautions. um,
Yes.
yes, we did have a couple of questions before we get off, from some parents. I think we kind of addressed it. Question one is how to deal with the fear regarding COVID-19. She says, I have a child that has always been fearful of getting sick. So what would you advise?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it depends on the kid, right? Because developmentally, however young or old you are, you can understand a little bit more as you get older. But to really just frame it as, we're like, we're going to do our best, right? That's all we can do. And kind of like going back to that, what can I control versus what I can't, right? And it's like, there's a lot of stuff in the world that's scary, and a lot of stuff that we can't control, that that's out of our hands. But what we can do is we're going to be responsible for ourselves, right? We're gonna like put on our superhero capes, and our superhero cape happens to be a mask, right? And that's how we're going to protect ourselves. And it's scary and it's not fun, but it's not forever. And we have hope, right? Instilling that hope, because when we get depressed, and fear is associated with that as well, when we get depressed, we lose hope. So we have to instill in our kiddos too that, like, hey, people are working really hard to solve this problem, and we can solve some problems too by keeping ourselves possible.
Awesome.
So that's what I would advise.
That's
I love
awesome.
how you said that, because I mean, it makes me think about just having that mindfulness, and then also having that self awareness for yourself as well. You can
Absolutely.
isolate, but once you feel that tension rising, just change course maybe a little bit, and again, go outside, because that's all we can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
My, my youngest daughter, her new favorite thing is our swing we have outside. That's where she spends most of her time after school. She goes outside, she's on her swing. But it's the being outside part that's relaxing, you know, just nature.
That's
That's
important.
good.
I love nature. Just, yeah, outside is amazing.
It's our best friend these
Yeah, it
days.
is
We
our
have
best
to
friend. I
love
bet, I know
nature.
Mother Nature is like, bring it back. Come on back. Yeah,
Yeah,
come back
that's
to
right.
the old days. All right,
And
no,
then we're in December too, so we have the best weather right now, and so
Yes.
we should definitely take advantage of it.
yes. Our second question is, and our last one, what are the best strategies on coping with the new normal? So I know, Lauren, before we end, we just said, what we can't control. So what are just any additional strategies on, like, this is really good, y'all, because we're going into 2021, and guess what?
Yes.
COVID is still here.
Yep.
So
Ma'am.
this is it, So,
Mhm.
what would be some things to really look forward to, or rather, like, just best strategies on just coping with the new normal? Like,
Yeah. I would say, kind of, going back to what you were saying, Malika, is having mindfulness, like being aware of
Yes.
your own fears, being aware of like how you're reacting to stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe kind of coming up with your own either mindfulness or spiritual practice of learning acceptance. Something I like to talk about a lot in therapy is radical acceptance. That means I am fully accepting the thing that I can't change, right? I'm accepting reality as it is. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Don't mean it's my best friend, right? But it means I'm accepting the reality as it is and looking within myself of saying, can I handle that discomfort? And you'll find that you can. It's not fun. But then once you're able to accept that discomfort and say, I don't like this, I don't feel good, but I can't change it. So I have to accept that. What can I do? Kind of going back to control versus what I can't control. Mm-hmm. What can I do to make my life feel meaningful, to make it feel joyful, to make it feel like I have things to look forward to? And that takes a lot of inner work, and it's hard. It ain't easy. Yeah. But it takes a lot of inner work to do that.
Well, I would say, parents, you don't want to do it by yourself, and then also with your kids. So, do it collectively as a family. Just acknowledging your emotion and, this is the new normal. So, like, maybe the traditions need to be changed. And that's okay. Like Lauren said, makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't like it. This is what we've been doing for 20 years. We just got to do something different, so we'll maybe have to add a new flavor, but I think the first thing comes with the acceptance piece, and if you're not there yet, it's going to be a struggle. And if you're feeling like, you don't know how to, or you need a little bit more support, that's where the counseling comes in. So I'm glad you ladies were all able to join. I cannot wait to get some feedback from some parents. Like I said, they are the Tri-County COVID-19 outreach, so I will be providing their information in the comments once the video is posted. And as always, if you have additional questions, I love these two ladies. They'll be able to steer you in the right direction and get the answers from you. And I just really appreciate it because though we just didn't have, doctors or, big psychologists or, those people that look at all the diseases and everything. This was just a low key, just let's get together and let's just really figure out what's happening and then how can we move forward. So I enjoyed you ladies today. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, so much. Can I add just
yes, absolutely.
With the program, we've just been approved to serve more areas. So we're not just with the
So we I wanted to kind of put a quick plug in here. So we've been approved to speak with more counties. So I'm going to really quickly read off all the counties that if y'all know somebody, they can still call us. So Austin, Brazos, Burleson, Colorado, Fort Bend, Grimes, Leon,
wow.
Liberty, Madison, Matagorda, Montgomery, Robertson, Walker, Waller, Washington, and Horton counties. Holler at me.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, ladies, we had fun, and parents, I hope that you gained a lot of information. And so, with that being said, if you have any other questions, let me know. And thank you for tuning in to Get Right with Miss Wright.